Who invented the gun? Ask most people and they'll say Europe. Knights, muskets, redcoats, that's the picture. They're not wrong exactly, but they come into the story 600 years too late. The real story starts with a group of Chinese alchemists. Tang Dynasty China, around 850 AD. The emperor's alchemists have one assignment above all others: defeat death. Find the mixture a person can swallow to live forever. So they kept trying different recipes. This went on for years. And then one day, they mixed 3 ordinary ingredients: saltpeter, charcoal, and sulfur. Instead of finding a way to live forever, they accidentally created a mixture that burst into flames with incredible force. The interesting part is that they didn't see this as some terrifying new weapon. They even gave it the name huaoyao, which literally means fire medicine. They kept studying it, convinced this strange new powder still had some use. They just had no idea how it would revolutionize human history. The first batches of gunpowder they produced weren't powerful enough to launch anything. They mostly burned with a bright flash and a lot of smoke. And that flash was the first weapon. You'd probably expect the first gun to fire a bullet, but it didn't. In fact, it wasn't even built to shoot anything. Chinese soldiers filled a hollow piece of bamboo with gunpowder, tied it to the end of a spear, and lit it. Instead of firing a projectile, it blasted out a stream of fire and thick smoke straight into the enemy's face. That was the weapon. They were called fire lances, and that's exactly what they were: a spear with a flamethrower strapped to the end. Then people noticed something. The pieces of broken pottery, bits of metal, even small stones that had been packed in with the powder weren't just flying out of the tube. They were hitting people hard. Nobody built the weapon to fire a projectile. It just happened. And that accidental discovery changed everything. People realized the tube didn't need to throw fire at all. If it could launch a solid object fast enough, that could be the weapon. Because when the powder exploded inside a tube, all that expanding gas had to escape somehow. If something blocked one end, it blasted that object forward. But if nothing blocked the front and the tube was free to move, the gas pushed the tube itself in the opposite direction, which is the same mechanism we use for rockets today. But that's for another video. By now, the gun had started to look like, well, a gun. Bamboo could only handle so much before it burst apart, so people replaced it with bronze, and later, iron. The result was the hand cannon. You poured gunpowder down the barrel, dropped in a metal ball, lit the touch hole at the back, and hoped for the best. It was slow, inaccurate, and dangerous to the person holding it, but for the first time, the explosion was trapped inside a barrel strong enough to launch a projectile with real force. This is where the gun finally reaches Europe. But once it arrived in Europe, things started changing very, very quickly. Europe didn't throw the old design away. They just kept improving it. Better metal meant stronger barrels, which meant more powerful shots. Then they turned their attention to the biggest annoyance every gun still had. Every time you wanted to fire it, you had to bring a flame to it by hand. So they kept solving that problem. The first solution was the matchlock, which used a slow-burning cord. Then came the wheellock, which made its own sparks, a bit like a cigarette lighter. Finally came the flintlock. A piece of flint struck steel, creating the spark automatically. It was simple, cheap, and so reliable that it stayed the standard for about 2 centuries. And once Europe started improving the gun, it never really stopped. Every generation fixes another problem. First, they made it more accurate. Then they made it more reliable. Then they made it faster to reload. Then they made it faster to fire. And finally, they replaced the old black powder with a cleaner, more powerful propellant that's still used today. So in the end, it all comes back to one accident. Men searching for immortality discovered a powder they thought might be medicine. That same powder gave us the gun and the rocket. China made the discovery. Europe spent the next 500 years refining it into one of the most effective weapons ever created. They went looking for a way to never die. Instead, they changed war forever.